afternoon. Welcome to All Hands Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Christy. I'm the Education Coordinator at AOC Community Media. Here in Acadiana, we come together to face hardships. When we are faced with natural disasters, man-made tragedies, and market swings, our community is quick to unite, both in response to the emergency and helping to rebuild. During this public health emergency, we are seeing hardships unlike we've seen before, but we are also seeing kindness like never before. In an effort to highlight your spirit of community, we'd like to take some time to get to know some of our amazing community leaders, good neighbors, and helping hands. We're also inviting you all to participate, to share your stories of encouragement with us, and we will help you to get the word out. Today's guest we have on our episode is Lee Rashall, the Executive Director of the Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing, otherwise known as the ARCH. ARCH's mission is to ensure that everyone in Acadiana has access to safe, affordable, stable housing, and that all episodes of homelessness are rare, brief, and non-recurring. Before coming to ARCH, she served as the director of the St. Joseph Diner and the Stella Maris Hygiene Center, providing meals and a place for people to shower and do laundry. In her role with ARCH, Lee coordinates a coalition that provides services to the homeless in 8 parishes of Louisiana as a continuum of care. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode today, Lee. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're so glad to have you here. I guess I'm starting off our conversation for today. Can you just tell us a little bit about ARCH and what exactly is a continuum of care?
Sure. So ARCH is the Acadiana Continuum of Care for homeless services across Acadiana. We define Acadiana as the 8 parish area around Lafayette Parish. And continuums of care are actually designated through HUD, the federal department. And they are designated in large part to oversee the distribution of federal funds for homeless assistance programs in each of the regions. And so that's one of the main missions for ARCH is to work with the agencies who receive the federal funds for homeless assistance programs, both to help monitor those programs and to facilitate the distribution of those funds, to allocate which programs receive those funds, et cetera. But as part of our larger mission, we work to coordinate the efforts of the various organizations, both those that are doing direct assistance and also those that maybe most community members wouldn't think of as homeless service providers, but our hospitals, our law enforcement, libraries, school systems, all interact with individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness. And so we want to make sure that as a community, we're responding in coordinated ways and that we collaborate together so that everybody has good outcomes in terms of getting back into stable housing. ARCH knows that the solution to homelessness is always safe, decent, affordable housing. And so we work to find opportunities to increase availability of that affordable housing, to identify where there are gaps in that, and then to close those gaps.
Right. That connection, definitely that collaboration, I think is significant when it comes to homelessness. And if you could just kind of break down a little bit when it comes to that term, what homelessness actually looks like, because I think there may be a bit of sort of this myth or just a bit of debunking that that maybe we could speak on, because it seems sort of that we tend to lock into this very extreme spectrum when we think of what homelessness really is. So could you define for us a little bit of what that looks like?
Sure. Unfortunately, with economic struggles that a lot of individuals and families go through, we know that homelessness is something that could happen to virtually anyone under certain circumstances. And so many families and individuals are what we call rent burdened, meaning they're spending well more than 50% of their income on housing costs. And so an unexpected loss of income or an unexpected expense could send that household into homelessness very quickly. So we do see individuals, male, female, families with children, adult couples without children, veterans, literally everyone within the homeless service system seeking and receiving assistance. We also know that there is an equally diverse population that lives in subsidized housing, and that we need to work to find additional access for subsidized housing for everyone. But I think you're right that a lot of folks, when they think of homelessness, then they think of what we might more specifically refer to as chronic homelessness. And that's just not the full breadth of who is experiencing homelessness.
Right. Yes. I think when you mentioned the diversity, I think that's a really big, that was a big point to make, that there is such a diverse population there. But thank you for kind of clearing that up for some of our listeners today. How has the COVID-19 crisis impact Acadiana's homelessness situation? What have you guys noticed?
Well, we have already seen a 58% increase in homelessness across Acadiana.
Wow.
We had, in January, we conducted what we call our annual point in time count, where we identify everyone we know to be experiencing homelessness, those in the shelters as well as those who are living unsheltered. And in January, that number was 433 individuals approximately. And now it is up into the 700s. And we are seeing that increase come from households that were in very unstable housing situations. So they were perhaps doubled up with other family or friends, or they were paying their own way in a hotel room. They were not leaseholders, so they were not eligible for the protections that the eviction moratorium had. So when that housing situation became unavailable to them, in many cases we had families who were doubled up or tripled up, and all the children home from school, all the adults home from work, those houses became very crowded, and food shortages have been an issue with the financial struggles of those families, as well as domestic violence. And so whoever was on the lease, or in some cases their landlords, indicated that everybody who wasn't on the lease needed to leave. So we've had families that moved into their cars. In addition, we've had the good fortune, and the community has really responded in Acadiana when we put out a plea saying that we were going to need assistance with sheltering this increase of individuals and families that were moving into homelessness, so that we didn't have people in the midst of a pandemic trying to live out of their car or without vehicles living on the streets. We knew that was not safe. It's never safe. It's never safe for somebody to live unsheltered, but it is even worse in the midst of a public health crisis, without access to hygiene, without access to the ability to stay put in your home, as the governor and other officials were advising. Certainly there was no opportunity to isolate if somebody within the household would become sick. And so following the CDC guidelines, ARCH erected a hotel program in order to expand the shelter capacity. And so we were able to move approximately 250 households, most of whom were new to homelessness, into those hotels. And we still have approximately 235 today in hotels. As the other side effect of COVID is that we've had to, our traditional emergency shelters have had to lower the number of beds that they're able to offer. In order to comply with the CDC guidelines for social distancing, we've had to move beds at least 6 feet apart. We've had to increase some of the space in common areas, those kinds of things. And so shelters have had to decrease capacity, which is sort of a double whammy when you're talking about an increase in homelessness and a decrease in shelter bed capacity. We really had a sort of a crisis on our hands. So the hotel program allowed us to avert that, at least for the time being. And I'm really grateful to be able to report that as a result of those shelter programs responding quickly to establish health protocols, and as a result of the community donating to get hotel rooms available, we do not have any known cases of homelessness amongst those experiencing homelessness, either those who were homeless before COVID or any of those who have become homeless during COVID. No one has tested positive. And so I think that's a testament to the ability of this community to really rally together and to do important work in the face of crisis.
Absolutely. I think that's a very nice glimmer of light amidst a very sort of crazy pandemic. That's great news to recognize that we can come together and offer this to our community. So thank you for sharing that with us. I think we're going to swing to a quick little break here for some public service announcements. If you would like to join the conversation, you can leave a comment on YouTube. Email us at allhands@aocinc.org or give us a call at 337-232-4434. We'll be right back with more conversation with Lee Rochelle, the Executive Director at ARCH.
This is Governor John Bell Edwards. Louisiana is entering the next stage in our fight against COVID-19, and we've made progress, but there's more work to do. That's why I extended the stay-at-home order until May the 15th, while giving some businesses more flexibility. Moving forward, everyone should wear face coverings when around people other than immediate family. Maintain 6 feet between yourself and others, and wash your hands often. For more information, please visit coronavirus.la.gov. Stay safe, and God bless.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Hello. Welcome back, guys. We are here. I'm Christy, your host with AOC Community Media, here with Lee Rochelle, the Executive Director for ARCH. And we're having some good conversation today about their organization and some of the initiatives they're taking to really battle homelessness during this pandemic. I guess we'll kind of roll into this next question here. During this crisis, Lee, you are working with both tenants and landlords to secure housing and provide assistance. Can you tell us a little bit about that work?
Yeah, sure. So we know that there are a number of people who are in housing, who have lost income, and who are struggling to pay their rent right now. And that is a difficult thing for the tenant, but it's also a difficult thing for the landlord who relies on that rent for income. And so we have on our website, which is www.archacadiana.org, a survey that a landlord could take to help us better understand the impact that COVID-19 has had on their rental business. And that can be a landlord that has 1 unit or a landlord that has 1,000 units. We want to hear from all the various types of landlords out there, whether you're renting houses, apartments, whatever it is, if you have rental homes, so that we can get a better handle on how landlords throughout Acadiana have been impacted. There is also an opportunity for landlords to share information about available rental property. If you are a landlord or if you know somebody who rents properties for housing that they would like to put on our list, as we identify families who are in need of housing and working, have income ready to go, then we would like to connect them with landlords that need the tenants. And so we're doing our best to try to find support for tenants in terms of rental assistance dollars, Some of the federal programs have made new dollars available for rent assistance, and so we're trying to secure those locally. Just because they've been made available nationally doesn't necessarily mean that they get made available locally. And so we're trying to do some advocacy work to make sure that those dollars come into the Acadiana community and can be used to help people pay their rent, get caught back up, and so that they can move forward with life. And then we also know that that helps those landlords gather the rent arrears and to be able to move forward with their own lives as well. And so we think that that's a win-win for our community in terms of supporting the business owners as well as their tenants.
Right. So that tenant assistance is currently in the works. And was it an email you said for landlords to be able to provide you guys with that input?
Yeah, we have a survey. It's linked on our website. So if you go to archacadiana.org, there's a link to a landlord impact survey, as well as a survey about available rental units.
Perfect. Okay, we'll make sure that all of our listeners leave this afternoon with that information as well. Be sure to drop that at the very end here. If
there's a tenant who's in need of assistance or who is looking for rental assistance, that the way to receive assistance, either for shelter or for rent assistance, is to call 211. They'll have information about any available programs or projects that might be able to assist. And so the person is in need of assistance with their housing, then the best number to call is 211. You just dial 211.
211 if you are seeking assistance as a tenant. Thanks for dropping that in there. Let's kind of segue a little bit. We mentioned earlier about the moratorium. There is currently a moratorium on evictions in Louisiana, but it may not be as straightforward as some of us think. Can you let us know a little bit, what do people need to know about this moratorium?
Sure. So we have there's a moratorium that's been set at the federal level for federally protected properties. Those are properties that have a HUD mortgage, a Fannie Mae, et cetera. Those properties cannot serve notice for evictions until July 25th. Many people are not even sure if their property that they're renting would fall under that protection. There are some ways to find that out online, and 211 or Arch could help you determine that if it's listed publicly. There's also some private mortgages that do have HUD backings, and so in those cases we don't know, and it is up to the court system to help determine that. So it may be possible that the landlord would file for eviction once that is possible, and then the judge would say, sorry, it's a protected property, and they would not be able to process that eviction. And so we're working really hard to pull together some resources for tenant rights as well as landlord rights to figure out what's the best way forward through this kind of maze of eviction protections and moratoriums. But that's at the federal level. There's also a protection at the state level. Governor Edwards has said that we couldn't serve notice for evictions until June 5th in Louisiana. And that's a 5-day minimum. So the first eviction that could possibly be processed through Louisiana, as I understand it, is June 10th. But that's around the corner. It is possible that the governor may push that back a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, we are working along with numerous partners across the state to try to get eviction assistance, rental assistance programs stood up across the state using some of those dollars that have been made available. But by and large, those dollars are not yet available to local communities. And so we really are advocating strongly for at least another month of assistance of protections in Louisiana for those eviction moratorium, so that what rental assistance programs we can get going can get stood up in time to be able to assist people with preventing those evictions. The last thing that we want to see is people who can get back to work as soon as jobs are back at full capacity, have to lose their home through this crisis. Landlords lose out on all those rent arrears as well. And so it is, I think, to everybody's benefit to have those rental assistance programs stood up as soon as possible, and that we work to prevent evictions wherever possible, work with landlords and tenants directly to try to mediate issues, maybe having tenants pay portions of rent, et cetera. And so that process is in the works as we get a better handle throughout the state on what options are available.
Absolutely. We are definitely going to stay tuned to you guys as a very reliable resource for keeping us updated on that information. Acadiana emergency shelters have had to alter operations in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, which means they weren't able to shelter as many people due to the social distancing, which you have mentioned. Has that changed as we are entering we've kind of been in this phase one of reopening?
We are feeling our way through this new world of sheltering. And so shelters are having to do some assessment about what's possible now, and in terms of staffing, in terms of space and design, and how they're going to implement those things. So we are slowly seeing some shelters begin to take folks in again. Not anywhere near the capacity that we need to have in terms of sheltering all of those who have become or who may become homeless through this crisis. But we are beginning to see some shift back to some more traditional sheltering methods with those guidelines still in place. The 6 feet, additional staffing, additional sanitation, masks, gloves, temperature checks, all of those things are now part of shelter protocols.
Right, exactly. I think all of us are really trying to be as cautious as we can and moving forward with keeping as many of us protected, all of us protected, that we can with that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and drop some information here as we're nearing the very end of our segment. Thank you so much. I have Lee Rochelle here with the Acadiana Regional Coalition on Homelessness and Housing, the ARCH. If you are seeking assistance, that number that we dropped earlier will get you 211, will get you there directly. To email, you can reach out to ARCH, ARCH, at archacadiana.org. You can also find the organization on Facebook /the Arch Acadiana. And also, I just want to kind of wrap up our segment here, Lee, with one question. What can we as a community do to help right now? Is there anything that we can be doing to really push forward this initiative?
Sure. There's a number of ways the community can help. Those who are able to financially give, of course, dollars to assist homeless service providers or directly to ARCH are always more than welcome. You could also donate if you've been using this time in quarantine to clean out cabinets, to go through your home and do a little spring cleaning. A number of folks, as they move to new homes, are going to need they're going to need furniture, they're going to need dishes, they're going to need all the things that put together to turn a house into a home. And so ARCH is going to be collecting basic household items and furniture to be able to give to those households. As well, we need the community support in asking our government officials to get those dollars for rent assistance into our community. It's going to take a lot of money to stabilize housing in this community, and without stable housing, we're not getting back to normal. And so we know that we need to really push at our elected officials. And so those who are interested in calling or writing letters, sending emails, posting something on Facebook about that, we try to put advocacy opportunities on our Facebook page and through our email. And so people can certainly help us in that regard by lifting your voice up and just advocating on behalf of folks.
Nice. Donating your dollars, donating your time, your resources, and lending your voice. I think are all great ways that we can contribute. If you are interested in speaking with us on our episodes, you are more than welcome to reach out to us directly at AOC. That email is allhands@aocinc.org. You can also reach us directly by call 232-4434. And this will wrap up our episode today of All Hands Podcast with Executive Director Leah Rochelle. We really appreciate having you today, and we look forward to more of the great work that you guys are doing at ARCH.
Thanks. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.